Hi, this is Mara Velasic, one of your instructional technology coaches. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to use Google Forms and the corresponding response sheet that's created with every form you make. This is an example of a Google form that you might use for your Wednesday attendance. It has today's date, student's first name, student last name, class period, and what did you work on for our class today. One thing I really love about Google Forms is that any changes I make on the form questions will be reflected when students open that form again. So if this is a form I want to use every Wednesday to track attendance and engagement, I can change the question at the bottom each Wednesday. So I can mix it up and have different questions, or if there's different things I want them to focus on, or I could just include like a short question that helps me get to know them a little bit more. So anything I change on this form will be immediately reflected in the form that students are filling out. At the top of this page, in the upper right corner, I have some settings that I can change. I can click the little paint easel if I want to change the header icon, the theme color, the font style. This little eye icon lets me preview the form so I can look at it as if a student was going to fill it out, what it'll look like. I'm going to go back to the form. The gear icon are my form settings. So under General, I can check to have this form collect email addresses. If I want the students to receive an email with their response saying that their response was submitted, you can check that box. It will just add another email, so I don't usually check that box. When you require sign-in, we want to restrict to users in the Edmond School District and its trusted organizations, so it'll only be accessible to fill out to your students. And then depending on if we're going to reuse this form or not, we would check limit to 1 responses. I would like to use this form every Wednesday, so I'm not going to check that box. Okay, then we have a couple options for respondents. You can allow them to edit after they submit the form. You can allow them to see summary, chart, and text responses. I do not check these boxes because I don't want them to go back in and change their responses or see the summary of all responses. Under the presentation tab up here, one thing that I really like to add is a confirmation message. So this is a message that my students will see after they fill out the form and they click submit. So you can add a message here telling your students to have a great Wednesday, see you tomorrow, or any follow-up announcements or information you want to give them. This is something that you could change each week depending on what's happening in your classes. So I'm going to click Save now. And I'm looking at the form in the edit mode. So I am the owner of this form. Again, I can go in, I could add more description here and change anything about the form. Now that we've created the form, we need to post it on our Canvas course. So what we're going to do is click the send button, and then we're going to click this hyperlink icon right here. So we want to have a link from our Canvas course to this form. So we're going to click on the hyperlink, and this is going to give us the share link, similar to like a Google Doc or Google Slides, where we're giving them the share link to that resource. I'm going to click copy right here, and this will copy the share link. Now I'm going to go back to my Canvas course. So I'm going to click edit on my home page, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to put it under important course links. So I'm going to click enter, and I'm going to say Wednesday attendance form. I'm then going to copy those words, the text Wednesday attendance form, and then I'm going to use the shortcut Control and K. This is the shortcut for inserting a link. The button Control and the letter K as in kite. This will show me the text that I'm linking, and then right here under link, I'm going to use Control and V as in Victor to paste that share link. When I click done, this text is now a direct link to my Google form. So it's linked on my homepage under important course links. I'm going to click save, and now I'm going to go to modules, and I'm going to do the same thing on my weekly overview. So if we're in week 3, I'm going to open up my overview, click edit, and then I'm going to add that information under Wednesday. I'm going to then select that text, use my Control K shortcut, and then Control V to paste that link and click Done. So there's now a direct link to that form under Wednesday for students. I'm going to click Save and Publish, and I'll show you what that looks like. When they click on that link, it opens up the form. It's really important that you are giving them the share link to this form so that they can just fill it out. They cannot edit it. One thing that teachers do on accident is they go to the form and they copy this URL up here. If you notice the URL up here ends in edit, if you share that URL with students, they will be able to edit the actual form, not just fill it out. So that's why we need to click the send button and click that share link right here. So you are just linking that form to your Canvas course. If you want to add it as an actual item in the module, you can also do that as well. I would click the plus button next to my module, and instead of adding an assignment, I'm going to add an external URL. And this is where I would paste that share link, and I would call this Wednesday attendance form, and then click Add Item. So what that will do, once I publish it, students will be able to click on that Wednesday attendance form, and it will open the form embedded in the Canvas page. Okay, once we've created the form, we've linked it on our Canvas course. Now we need to look at the responses. Google Forms does not integrate with Canvas Gradebook or SpeedGrader. Google Forms also cannot be used with a Google Doc Cloud assignment. So we cannot use it with a Google Doc Cloud assignment. We can just link to that form from our course. So once we want to check the responses, we have to open up that form, and we want to be in the edit mode of that form. So if I'm looking at what students see, as the editor, I have this little pencil in the bottom right corner. So I'm going to click on that pencil. And at the top, I can see questions and I can see responses. I can see that I have 19 responses on this form. If I click on responses, I can see a summary of all of the responses. This gives me a list of all of the responses by question. So I have the date, student's first name, student's last name, class periods, what did you work on for class today? So this is not a very helpful view in order to fill out this form or to look at the responses of this form, especially multiple weeks in a row. So what you can do is you can open up the response sheet. So every Google form has a corresponding Google sheet to that form where we can see all responses. So I'm going to click on this Google Sheets icon, and it's going to ask me if I would like to create a new spreadsheet or select an existing spreadsheet. If you've never created a spreadsheet for this form yet, then we want to create a new spreadsheet. And then I click Create. So this will open up all of the responses that I have on this form so far. It has a timestamp of when the form was completed. It has today's date that the student selected, their first name, their last name, their class period, and what they worked on for our class today. Now that we have this spreadsheet, it's going to get really long and crazy because you might be using this form multiple times and you will have multiple periods. So we need to be able to filter the responses. Before we filter, there's a couple tricks that I like to do with Google Forms. I'm going to click with Google Sheets, I'm going to click this box right above the number 1 and next to the column A, and I'm going to click this icon for text wrapping, and I'm going to choose this middle icon to wrap the text. What that's going to do is it's going to put the text so it stays inside of one box, so it's easier to read and doesn't become this big, long scrolling line, especially if a student wrote a very long response. So you only have to do that one time, and now our responses will be easier to read. One other thing I like to do is I like to select the first row. I'm going to bold that row, and then I'm going to do View, Freeze, and I want to freeze one row. What that will do is as I scroll through my response sheet, that top row, which tells me the title of each column, will stay in place. So I can easily see the responses as I scroll. Okay, so now we need to filter our responses by the different categories. So I'm going to click that box above the 1 and to the left of A to select all. And then I'm going to click on Data, and I'm going to click Create a Filter. what this does, if I click anywhere in the spreadsheet, I now have this little green filter icon on each of my columns. So this allows me to filter the information. As you're using this spreadsheet to take attendance, you will probably want to filter by the week, and then by the class period, and then sort the students alphabetically. So I'm going to click on this little filter icon right here, and I'm going to filter by the week. So when I click that filter icon, if I look down here, I can see all of the different options. I can see today's date, next week, Wednesday, the following week, Wednesday. So I'm going to uncheck next week, Wednesday, and the following week, Wednesday. So I'm only seeing the responses for 9/23/2020, and then I'm going to click OK. If you notice, that filter icon was these 3 lines, and now it's an actual icon. So this means this column is being filtered right now. So right now I'm only seeing the responses from today. But I'm still seeing all of the class periods from within those responses. So I filtered by date. Now I'm going to click this little icon again, and I'm going to filter by period. So I want to see only first period's responses. So I'm going to uncheck second period, uncheck third period, fifth period, sixth period. And so now I'm just looking at first period. I'm going to click OK. And I can see that only one student filled this out for today, first period. Okay, let's try a different period. I'm going to filter, let's show second and third period. So now I'm filtering and seeing second and third period from today. Once you have your class list for today's date and a specific period, now I can sort the students by first name alphabetically or by last name alphabetically, depending on how you're taking attendance in Skyward. So I'm going to sort by first name alphabetically. I'm going to click the filter, and I'm going to sort A to Z, and it sorts my students alphabetically by first name. So this would be what I would use to take attendance if I had like a second, third period block. If you notice on my sheet, I have a filter in column B, and I have a filter on in column E. If I want to go back to just the main spreadsheet to see all student responses, I'm going to start with the last filter I set, which was class period. I'm going to click on the filter icon, and I'm going to click Select All. So this will bring back all students that filled out the response sheet on the 23rd. Then I'm going to click on the filter icon for today's date. I'm going to click Select All, and that will bring back all responses that were completed. You can tell which row you're looking at on the far left. I have 20 responses here. I can scroll up and I can see all responses. So this allows you to use the form multiple times, using it every week for the next. So this allows you to use the form multiple times, because if you're filtering by the date, you can just see the responses for a specific date, and then you can filter by class period, and then you can sort alphabetically by student first name or last name. I know that that's a lot of information for teachers that are especially new to Google Forms and new to Google Sheets. If you have any questions, please reach out to your tech coach, and we'd be happy to help.